Every day, Brian says, don't talk over the intro, Heather.
And what does she do? She does exactly what he doesn't want her.
On purpose.
That's what Heather does. Heather's a rule breaker. That's why we like her. Good morning, Heather. I don't know if you noticed, but for those of you, what was it?
This is the best sound in the world.
That's your typical white girl drink. What drink is that from Starbucks, by the way?
This is a cherry chai. It's their new drink, and it's fantastic.
What's in it?
Cherry and chai.
Okay.
Cherry chai.
Cherry chai. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Hey BigHead Show. For those of you that are audio only right now, I highly suggest you go to YouTube or Spotify
and watch what Andrew's wearing.
Brian, just show me on the screen real quick. I want to see myself.
Please
Can
don't.
you do that?
He can't. He'd have to go around.
He's got to go around. Look at me. Oh my God, Brian, make my muscles look good too, please. I appreciate that.
He's going to flex the whole show.
I'm going to be flexing the whole time. We have.
You need a spray tan.
I would have brought baby oil. I didn't know. You didn't tell me. You're trying to surprise me with this, so I didn't know. I would have been prepared.
I like to keep my guests on their toes. You don't know what you're expecting here.
Respect.
But yes, I'm dressed up as the legendary Macho Man Randy Savage.
How much did you pay for that outfit?
$40.
You know what? You should wear that for Halloween.
It was worth every penny. I'm going to wear this every weekend.
No.
This is going to be my weekend attire.
Gross.
But as you notice, we have a new voice on the show. Goes by the name of Adrian Hernandez. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Obviously, wrestling might be taking over Las Vegas here in April.
Yes.
So I'm glad to be here to talk about it. Heather was like, hey, do you want to come on? I was like, what are we going to talk about? Gardening? Because I have takes on that. But she's like, we're going to talk wrestling. I'm like, perfect.
I love it.
Let's do it.
I love it. Adrian is not only a colleague of Heather's at the radio station, he also hosts the highly successful Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez podcast. And you just started that last year, right?
About 2 years, two and a half years of going at it. And we've been very lucky, very blessed with some of the guests and some of the success. So we look forward to continuing that.
Adrian's a hustler.
He is. From the brief time that I met him and just kind of getting to know him for the 15 minutes that we were talking, he definitely hustles, and which I love.
You know what I love, and I compliment you all the time on this? The social media game on KLUC's Instagram has gotten so much better because of him.
The social media game on KLC, what is that social media game?
He's just making it put relative content, good content. Like, I always stop and read it, and I like it. You're just doing good stuff on there.
I appreciate it, man. Like, when it gets to radio, I think a lot of radio stations are like F- in their social media stuff.
100%.
Like, you just have to put in some sort of effort. So try the relevant stories, pop culture. Obviously, there's always a lot of Vegas news, whether it's, hey, it's a new sports team or casinos opening up a new pool and stuff like that. So just trying to make it as engaging as possible because there's a lot of lack of effort sometimes in radio. So,
are you born and raised in Vegas?
No, I've been here for 5 years. I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, though. And then chasing the dream of being on the radio, which is how all of this started, has led me to Florida, Tampa, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, and then here in Las Vegas. But I'm never leaving the city of Las Vegas.
Really?
This is home, for sure.
What do you like about
moves here?
What do you like about Las Vegas so much?
Well, just being in sports, being in entertainment, like this is the best city to be in. Like, I would even prefer it over Los Angeles just because I'm 4 hours away if there's something going on in LA.
Sure.
And obviously Las Vegas isn't seen as New York or LA, but Las Vegas is the only city in the country outside of LA and New York that you never know who's going to be here. From a famous porn star to whatever Hollywood actor or celebrities throwing the residency, doing the show, just here to spend time. Like that, there's too many possibilities. So, and obviously doing a lot of sports stuff even outside of wrestling.
You got into the radio business how?
I mean, it's been my dream since I was 9 years old. Went to school for it. Got my little college radio station that's only on the website. Got an internship with a hip hop station. And that was kind of my entrance. And from internship to street team to overnight shifts to being the number one person when anyone calls out to being the producer and doing a whole bunch of other things.
We literally have the same career then. That's exactly how I did it.
The path of hustle.
The path of hustle really does. This is
real.
Proof right here. Hustle works.
Hustle works, and then you get to be on the Hey BigHead Show.
Oh, this is the downfall of our career.
You hustle hard enough, you get to be
point.
on the podcast for Vegas locals, the Hey BigHead Show.
Great. The downfall of our career.
I love the enthusiasm, Heather, especially early in the morning on a Sunday.
I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to jab you all hour.
Okay, well, let's tone down on the jabbing, por favor, please. So when did you get into wrestling, Adrian? Because the Unlikely podcast that you have is solely focused on the wrestling world.
95% of it. And there's been some random basketball and celebrities and stuff, but 95% wrestling. When it comes to wrestling, I always loved it as a kid. The Rock is my guy. He's the guy that gave me confidence. Being a bigger kid, I was flamboyant and I would talk trash because I was just trying to, what would The Rock do in this situation right now? But I stopped watching. I feel like many people, once puberty hit, you start playing, you're on your sports school team, you're on the school sports teams, online video games. I was playing Halo 2 online. I was like, I don't have time to watch wrestling. Yeah. I randomly watched it in high school. And I watched this match with The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and I was so captivated. And this is me watching it, knowing, like, what's going on. Right. And I was like, they still have me hooked. This is crazy. And because of that, going on the internet and realizing, like, oh, the real fighting, the real spiciness is everything happening behind the scenes. Right. And all these people covering the drama and stuff. I was like, oh, there's a whole nother world to this. It isn't just what you see on TV. And from that moment in, that's what like made me a super, super hardcore fan. And just to fast forward, like in radio, I feel like, Heather, there's two types of entertainment that you can always get an interview. It's when comedians are in town, they're more than likely going to do an interview on the radio station. And wrestling.
Yeah, wrestlers will come to us like no problem.
Yeah, like artists nowadays, like it's very tough to get them and you have to go to the venue and stuff. So I would always take the interviews because everything I try to do is something that I'm interested in. I'm not trying to chase something because it's popular and stuff like that. So I would always do it. But there was an interview about 2 years ago that I did with The Undertaker, and that was very rare. Like if you look at the interviews that he's done, now he has a podcast, so now he's fully ingrained. But for the longest time, he's like Joe Rogan, ESPN. He did one with like Tony Hawk. Like there was less than 5 that he did. Right. So to get that interview, that Pretty same day. Yeah, it was awesome. But he also talked to this guy named CVV, who's the biggest wrestling interviewer. He does a lot of entertainment stuff too.
Chris Van Fleet.
He entertainment, and he's like the god of wrestling interviews. He's the top dog. Me and him were the only 2 interviews that day. And even though I only had 15 minutes, and he had more time, like I watched those. And my ego is gonna come out when I say this. But I was like, yo, I feel like I had the best interview. And I was like, yo, if I can do this and people actually really liked it, and I loved talking about it. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna try to put my energy and just try to make the most out of this in doing wrestling interviews and going to events and doing junkets and press conferences and stuff like that. And here we are 2.5 years later, approaching 100K on YouTube, which is crazy.
That's crazy, dude.
And how old are you right now?
31.
31. So you got into wrestling right in the Attitude Era?
Attitude Era, yes.
Yeah.
You know, wrestling is soap opera for men.
I could see that.
I feel like that's what it is. Like the storylines are so good.
Yes.
But like it's so like it's just so funny to me because I got into wrestling because my ex-boyfriend was like super into wrestling. He was really into CM Punk, isn't he? He's back, right?
He's back.
Yes,
he's back.
The GOAT.
And I became obsessed with Dean Ambrose, who's now John Moxley.
You do love him.
I do love him.
Who used to live here. He moved out recently.
Oh, I saw him walking down GVR one day, and I was like, do I go up to him? Do I say hi? No. And then I paid one time $50 to go meet him.
Did he remember you?
No.
Just 50. Good for him.
It was a while ago.
He's a big name still.
It
was a while ago.
100.
I then met him another time and got him to sign it. And on my wall of all my musicians is one picture of John Moxley. It doesn't make sense.
Shows his greatness.
It shows his greatness.
So in the past 2.5 years since you really got into this, you've interviewed some huge names, like Taker. You just recently interviewed Stone Cold.
Yeah.
You interviewed Stone Cold?
Interviewed him twice.
That's crazy.
Freaking dope.
Crazy.
Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. They call him Cope now, but many people will know him as Edge.
DDP.
Damn, I'm trying to Diamond Dallas Page, Jey Uso, Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, Swerve Strickland. There's a whole, but not Moxley yet.
What?
And honestly, I don't want to because he's very, how do I say this? He talks like Heath Ledger Joker, but like very slower. It's like a weird vibe. And no offense to him, but it's
I'll interview him.
I bet you would.
I bet you would.
He's married. Calm down. No.
Put it away.
I'll marry him too.
I'll marry you.
in some
Sure.
places like Vegas.
you never
Acceptable.
know.
We don't judge or kink shame.
Just kidding. I'm sorry, Renee. Sorry.
No, but there's a look at you, dude.
Oh, I know who his wife. Hang on, I'm gonna go back again. So when I posted that photo of me and John Moxley, all the fans cropped my face out and put her photo on top of it.
That's
this is
hilarious.
before they announced that they were dating. So there's a picture of my body with her face on it everywhere on the internet. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's amazing.
That's pretty funny.
But yes, in these 2.5 years, been very fortunate to get to talk to some of the people, even if it's just been at a press conference and just been one of the people asking, like The Rock, about a month and a half ago, after Cena became a bad guy, like that whole ordeal. 20
weird.
minutes later, getting to talk to The Rock, it's crazy. So been very fortunate.
So take me back to the earlier stages of The Unlikely where you did get to meet Taker. Did you get in front of Taker? Because that was like your second episode, right? Or
Yes.
was
So
that because of the podcast or because of the connection to the radio station?
That one was because of the connection to the radio station.
Nice.
And that one was also they had announced the show because he does a it's not a stand-up show. He just talks about his career on stage. And he did one at the Chelsea. And I don't think it was selling well because when I first put in the request, they're like, hey man, you realize this is like less than 3%. I was like, I'm 100% aware. I just want to officially request that if he's going to talk, I would like to talk to him. And so they hit me up randomly, and I'll never forget because they asked. They said, hey, do you want to talk to Undertaker? I was like, do I? I was like, does he have a second to so that I can speak to him? So they were like, okay, cool, because it's going to be tomorrow. And I am so thankful. I am so thankful that I didn't have any time to like study, quote unquote. I was like, thank God, this is tomorrow. This is cool. I don't need any notes. My life is me. I know everything. Like I don't need a study guide for this.
Right.
And was able to do the interview. So yeah, that's how that came to be. Just putting a request, knowing that it's very unlikely to happen, but it turned out to be good. And obviously I wish I had more time and stuff like that, but I don't regret it. It's in my opinion, just for me as a nerd and trying to like look at my stuff, it's my favorite interview because of the constraints and like how I did it with just 15 minutes.
What a great
awesome.
first early interview for you to have such a huge name that you get to sit in front of and really just kind of throw you into the fire. You're not kind of working your way up to somebody with the status of, the Undertaker or Stone Cold. You're like, hey, this is early on. You're in it. And here's the Undertaker. And the fact that you know so much about him too helped tremendously prior to that. You didn't have to study. But it sounds like if you were over-prepared, you probably wouldn't have been as comfortable or you wouldn't have been as successful with that interview if you kind of study too much over it compared to just walking into it and just having a natural conversation with him.
There's pros and cons to doing stuff like that. Because when you know so much about someone, it's hard to sometimes come up with questions that are unique because you already know the answer. So you don't really think of it like that. Because I can't tell you, like, it's great because you could walk into an interview and be like, okay, I got this. Like, we're just going to talk. But it also makes you sometimes forget, like, the maybe smaller tidbit questions that maybe a fan would like to hear.
Right.
But you already knew the answer because you're a super fan.
And I could add that, again, going back to the point of, hey, comedians and wrestlers, they will always be down for an interview. They do so many interviews, Undertaker being an outlier, but just for the most part, so many wrestlers do so many interviews. And like, I am not here to waste no one's time. I am not here to ask you what your Mount Rushmore is or like certain things like that. So trying to be unique is like, that's a very, very tough thing. And no matter whether you have a week to prepare or just, hey, it's going to be tomorrow, you got 11 hours, it's tomorrow morning. Like, you're always going to have that moment of, I should have asked that.
Here's a question I have to ask, though, as someone who's like in wrestling, but also not. When you're interviewing them, do they ever break character and just talk about like stuff outside of the stuff? Or, because like, it's like a whole character. It's a whole, like, what do you call that? When they're like playing
When they're playing kayfabe.
Yeah, kayfabe.
Kayfabe is when they're talking about real life as opposed to their character. It all depends. The best ones are when you can initially tell that they are in character, and then
I like the in-character interviews better.
It all depends. Sometimes, like, I've been fortunate enough, like, I've seen the mask come off, for lack of a better term, and then to really be like, okay, I know this person. I trust that he's not here to just like get clickbait or viral, and we're having a real conversation, so I'm going to let you know. On the flip side of it, if they are in character, you have to learn to like roll with the punches. And some of that stuff like comes out very hilarious. For instance, I did an interview with an AEW wrestler, and I asked him about Travis Scott slapping John Cena. And like he stayed in character. He's like, hey, that's what happens. You don't talk, you're using profanity. I smacked your ass too. You can't talk like that. There's children at these events. And it was all purely in character. I was like, oh, yeah, this is hilarious. It kind of goes against how I try to have these conversations because I want to have a great conversation. But sometimes you have to be able to be flexible enough to be like, okay, well, if we're going to play in character, then let's have some fun and be outrageous with them.
Gotcha.
I think that's the evolution of the wrestling fans too, is because I also, very similar to you, I got into wrestling just before the Attitude Era. I was into like when Bret Hart was at his top and he was feuding with Hogan and
Wait, what?
Macho Man.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, I was in like the late 80s. I'm 40, so I'm born in 85. So late 80s, early 90s is when I really got into wrestling. And just the experience of it all was just mind blowing to me. So at the time when I was just a kid and even 10 years old, I don't know if I would have been as involved or engaged with it if I saw behind the mask at that time. I enjoyed when the wrestlers were in their character. When they were, feuding, quote unquote, at the time. But now that I'm older and a lot of these wrestlers are kind of opening up behind the curtain, they're showing what life was like back then. They're showing what life is like now. Now I'm engaged again into wrestling because of the fact that Taker and Stone Cold and all of these other wrestlers are even having their own shows or they're opening up behind the curtain and they're kind of showing not only do you see this is what you see on TV, but this is also what goes on behind the scenes. And I really like that. That's what got me hooked back into the wrestling side of things again too.
And even some of the wrestlers, they have their own Twitch channels.
Yes.
Hell, even The Rock, his social media team having the cameras behind the scenes of the Elimination Chamber just happened 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So to see how Cena reacted walking back to the curtain and engaging with people. Like before, if you would ever see that, that would be a WWE documentary that comes out 2 years after the event. To get it like the week after,
yeah.
It's to me personally like why wrestling has gotten so popular now, and it's like this resurgence of it being as popular as the Attitude Era is like the athleticism and all that stuff is better than it's ever been ever before. But getting to connect with these characters on and off and on social media, and the wrestlers now know that you have to use social media. There's certain wrestlers that aren't getting screen time. Well, I need to do something to get my name out there. So they'll be talking shit back and forth online. That's very funny. They'll be
that's fun.
They're breaking the fourth wall. They're on Twitch. They're answering questions. They're being open. They have their own YouTube channels. They're very active on social media. And then sometimes all this gossip and stuff that got me hooked behind the scenes, the way that they use it into the storylines and really blend it together and kind of blur those lines, it's never been like that ever before. And it's like it really makes it engaging and captivating.
And we'll get into this, but do you think that's because of Triple H taking the helm?
Triple H being and taking over for Vince McMahon and kind of running the show has definitely helped. Like, how do I say this? It rewards people being fans.
Right.
Back in the day with Vince McMahon, if there was a storyline between two characters and they used to fight like 2 years earlier, the story being portrayed like there would be no mention or anything like that. And people would be like, well, that's kind of dumb. We know that these guys have, whereas now everything connects.
See, that's nice.
I like that.
So for example, The Rock 5 months ago at an end of a pay-per-view with Cody Rhodes in the ring, he came out, it wasn't announced. He came out and he just did this. And there's been a lot of rumors because of The Rock and all this WrestleMania promotion.
The throat slit.
Yeah, he did a throat slit, right? And people were like, what does that mean? And there's all these 30-minute breakdowns on YouTube and just like, what does it mean? But there was rumors that The Rock wasn't going to be here or involved in WrestleMania. If you notice on all the promotional stuff, his photo's not on it and all this different things. So fast forward to this John Cena incident where John Cena becomes a bad guy.
Which, by the way, kind of blew my mind.
No, and it was shocking. We'll get into it, but I just want to say that when The Rock did the same throat slit and people were like, oh, that's what he was talking about. So it's like cool little things like that.
Taylor Swift Easter eggs.
Yes, and that before used to be
So all you bit men out there who hate on us for looking into Taylor Swift's Easter eggs, you guys are doing the same fucking thing.
You're 100% right. And it's what's made it, that's one of the parts that makes it. You're rewarding people for caring.
Right.
Essentially is what it is. You're not disrespecting them for investing time that they remember. And that's really cool. And that's like one little example.
That's an excellent point. Rewarding people for being a fan. I love that. And they've done a fantastic job at that.
Can we just talk about Cena going bad guy?
We will.
Right now.
Let me work up to it.
Right now.
So she's ready.
I know. You're excited. You're ready. But Adrian, so from when you started to even up to today, you're almost at 100 episodes with Unlikely? Right?
We are at technically, we're like in the mid 70s.
Okay, so you're working your way there, and you're going to get there in no time, I'm sure. What's your preparation like prior to meeting somebody, excluding your time with the Undertaker, but like now, today, what's your preparation like before meeting one of these wrestlers or entertainers?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And Elon Musk, I hate you for taking away one of my favorite things to do, which was on Twitter. I would go through people's likes because I would find out what they were into, whether I was like, oh, me and you, we're like in the same type of booty pics.
Oh, that's smart.
I see our type of energy. Well, you can't do it anymore. You can't look through people's likes because, people would.
Damn you, Elon.
People would be
Fucking
like
Elon
liking
Musk.
porn and they wouldn't think that people would know. And they're like, yo, you freak.
I didn't know you could do that.
That was the thing. There's been head coaches like in basketball and stuff that got fired.
Do you remember Instagram when you could go see what people were following and liking and they took that away?
You can't do that now?
No. So there used to be like it'd be like your feed and then everything your friends are doing.
Yeah,
and I
the
loved
recent-
that feed.
It's like Venmo. It's way too intrusive. Like, I don't need to know what Andrew said to be
I didn't need to
$20
know
for
that.
pizza.
On the flip side, though, the fact that I found out my dad liked all these videos
Oh
and pictures of these porn
my.
stars, that kind of ruined it for me. So after
What'd
that,
you do?
what
Talk to him?
I was like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Look at all these people that can see what you're liking.
Dude, I have to tell you something. One of our ex-coworkers, we found out, no joke, is writing dirty comments on like young girls' profiles.
No.
Like way ex-coworker. But isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
I was like, I just ruined my image of him.
That's nuts.
It's bad.
This took a turn.
This took a turn.
Back to the prep.
And we're back.
Back to the prep. I would try to see what they're talking about, what they're engaging in on social media. Because sometimes you will find out that like, hey, this person's really into Star Wars. My absolute favorite, and I know Heather will love it too, is a lot of the wrestlers live in Orlando. Because that's where like their headquarters is to like train and perform, blah, 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 blah. Sure. So yeah, they all got magic keys. They're all at Disney World. In fact, one wrestler, I'm interviewing her. Last weekend, she did every Disney ride in Orlando, like Epcot, Animal Kingdom. She did all of it in one day. No, she did it.
Because she had someone walking her to each ride.
No. She had her magic. She has her pass. She had Lightning Lane. She had all that, but she didn't have like the Disney people staff. Like she did it. So the interview was like, I'm not going to ask her anything about wrestling. Mm-hmm. I love to talk about hip hop because I came into radio through hip hop. So this Drake Kendrick feud has been fun. I've done full interviews arguing with the wrestlers and like me taking Kendrick's side and them taking Drake's side and the PR guy being completely confused about what the hell's going on. Who's saying what? Are you making us look bad? Like the less I can talk about wrestling with someone is like the more enjoyable it is, because to me, I'm like, oh, I'm opening up this side that isn't talked about. Because a lot of times it is just
those are the clips that will go viral.
Yeah, just trying to be transparent and trying to be like honest and like how's life. Like for instance, there's this guy in the WWE. His name's Omos. He's 7'6".
He's a big boy.
Tall ass, huge ass Nigerian. Played basketball. Should have made it in the NBA, but I'm thankful that he's in the WWE. And there was a viral clip of him getting into a first class seat. So getting to talk to him about how does this work? You're not in a private plane all the time. You guys are one of the most traveled entertainers in any genre of entertainment, doing shows now globally. Like hotels, what are some of these issues? Planes, he was like, yo, that was a first class seat, and that's how uncomfortable it was, and how all these situations work. And to me, that stuff's fascinating. So using social media to find that, and then like with Heather just said, like there's these small moments that we sometimes forget. I try to go back in people's careers and talk about those moments, which has been really cool.
What a great way to connect with people you're interviewing in a more unique way that's not only memorable to them, but also memorable to your listeners, your viewers, or anybody else that's going to view the clip. a month from now, a year from now, whatever. That's fascinating. So great job on that. That's huge. Have you ever had any interviews go not horribly wrong, or maybe horribly wrong, but not the way that you imagined they would go?
Yeah, they're not all great. In fact, I had one 3 weeks ago that was the first and only time. I've only had 2 really horrendous interviews that I'll never forget.
Did they air?
One neither aired. One was with Blueface that literally lasted 3 minutes, and then this one that I had that won't air.
Who was it with?
I don't want to say.
Will you tell me off mic?
Sure.
Okay.
But and it's kind of the same reasoning on why both didn't work.
It was John Moxley.
No, it wasn't. as soon as it happened, like I could just instantly tell they weren't paying attention to the camera, and I was like, "Yo, I'm not." I try to put effort into not wasting your time.
Was it a remote interview?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like, yo, if you don't want to be here, I don't want to be here either, and it doesn't do anybody good. So those moments where you could just tell that they're not fully into it or they're not engaged, and to each their own. I understand. I was a part of a probably 4-hour interview session where you had to talk to 12 different outlets around the world. And the questions might get repetitive and stuff like that. So no fault to you, but at the same time, like, I'm not here to waste anyone's time. So if you're not fully engaged, or you're giving me half-ass answers, or they're very short, or they're very cryptic, it's like, we don't have to do this. Or thank you so much. Well, I got it.
Day.
Peace.
What's the ratio of remote to in-person interviews that you do?
That is Jesus.
Probably like 75-25.
I would say, well, it's kind of flipped.
Really?
Just because I've been very fortunate as the show has grown to be able to go out to these events and be a part of those.
They fly you out?
No, everything. I'm independent, so everything I control or I pay and do all that. I'm learning. I gotta do my taxes. I'm learning. Got to start doing that. So I'm buying cameras, a whole bunch of stuff.
That's right.
Shout out to Brian, the producer. Trying to buy all this stuff. But it's kind of changed. I would say 60 in person, 40 virtual. Whereas before it was probably 70 virtual, 20 in person. Just because as the show's grown, I've been able to I just went to LA 2 weeks ago, strictly just to do an interview in person, because that's always the aim. That's always the goal, to do it in person. It just comes out better, and it's just a better feel, obviously, than us just staring at our computer screens. So yeah, that's probably the ratio.
This is more of a personal question for me, having this, and every interview that we've had, it's been in person. We've yet to do a remote interview yet, but how do you make your remote interviews at least engaging for the user or the visitor that's watching? If they're watching you talk to your screen and they're talking to their screen, how do you make it engaging?
Again, I think when you do the research and you find out something that they've done or that they're interested in, like trying to bring that first to kind of like. Like opening up a 2-liter, right? The little noise that kind of does that. So, for instance, one of the best answers I've probably got was I asked Becky Lynch, because she's a new mother, and she has a kid with Seth Rollins. I asked her about parenting, and I was like, "Hey, so what's your household? Are you Paw Patrol? Are you Bluey? Are you Peppa Pig?" And she goes off, and she calls Peppa Pig a bitch. Like, look at Heather's face. Like, I had no idea. But she's like, yo, Peppa Pig is rude. She talks to her dad crazy. She talks to her friends crazy. She's rude as hell. She's kind of a bitch. We don't put her on the TV screen.
Wow. I know that from multiple people that have kids. They do not let them watch it.
No. And then I YouTubed, and I was like, yo, that's so true. Like, there's an episode, her dad, and I feel sympathy. His dad's a big guy. I relate. Dad gets like stuck on the kid slide. Yeah. And like the whole episode, she's basically, the only thing she didn't say was call him a fat ass. So that to me is hilarious.
I'm heartbroken.
Is Peppa Pig canceled? Is that what's going on here?
I don't know.
Culturally canceled?
I'm Peppa Pig.
I'm Team Bluey. Bluey blowing her out the water, okay? First and foremost.
Wow, Brian, we're really talking about Bluey too over here?
Have you watched Bluey before?
No.
You should.
It actually,
like, as an adult, you should watch Bluey.
Is it like our Blue's Clues?
No.
No. It's the Blue's Clues guy on social media doing these videos that like have made people cry. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
God.
But it's not the show. The show is like that, the sentimental feels. So you, as a kid, it's just like all the
We're
cartoon
making our
shows.
kids soft, guys. I like Peppa Pig more. Be a bitch.
No, I don't think so. I think
Be a bitch.
you watch Bluey and it's like, as a kid, it's entertaining. As an adult, you're like, read into the details of the episode and you're like,
you're
oh
like,
shit,
damn.
that's real.
Is it really?
Like,
Does it get deep?
yeah, one.
No,
Yes.
we should do a blind react to watching one episode of Bluey and one episode
Watch
of Peppa Pig.
what's the sign?
guys are welcome.
It's like the long episode
you,
called
Adrian. Thank you.
the sign. It like made like parents cry across the world.
It's amazing.
I'm ready to cry. I haven't cried in a while.
Yeah, no, and but anyway, like
So
asking
eventually-
that
yeah.
as a parent, like finding out that was like, oh, that's cool. Or just knowing their history. Paul Heyman, he was at a nightclub in New York City, like the #1 poppin' nightclub, from like Michael Jackson to Frank Sinatra, all throughout the years has been there. He was there as like a 16-year-old because he had his camera.
Right.
And he just like, hey, I'm the photographer. He wasn't hired by anyone, but he finessed being in there. He has a very famous photo with Michael Jordan, where they're back to back, and Paul Heyman's a shorter. He's like he's the Danny DeVito of wrestling. He's still the god though. But I started the interview, like I went to CVS and I printed out the picture, and I was just like, how did this happen? And obviously that takes him back to it's not
Yeah.
wrestling. So it just opens it up. And it's like, okay, this kid this kid knows about me. And that picture has gone viral. It's gone viral a bunch of times. But like, what's the story behind it? Matter of fact, I'm sorry.
No, keep going,
I'm
please.
long-winded with the answers, but I just posted this reel yesterday talking to The Undertaker. They did a documentary on him, his final year in wrestling. And so the camera, he's backstage, he's like taking off his tape, getting undressed after the match, and he takes off his tape, crumbles it into a ball, and then throws it and says Kobe for Kobe Bryant, like everyone does.
Kobe.
But just to see The Undertaker, like this figure,
it.
this autonomous figure say it. So it's like, hey man, this was 3 seconds in this documentary, literally 3 seconds. Did you ever meet Kobe? Like, I knew he played basketball in college because he's such a tall dude. But like, I was like, what does this mean to you? And he just goes in a diatribe of like, I loved Kobe. I love the way he blah, 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 blah. And that's the same way I used to do it in the ring. And like that connection point of you put Undertaker and Kobe together, like that just looks weird, but it's fascinating. So just trying to get those off the wall moments instead of just being like, well, what did it mean to be in insert biggest point of their career that they've been asked a million times?
Who do you think you'd have? Let's say you have two people sitting at the bar. You could buy a drink and sit down with Paul Heyman, listen to him talk all night, or you could sit down with The Undertaker and
Paul Heyman.
really. Paul Heyman, I'm sure would have.
Wait, who's Paul Heyman again?
Paul Heyman is, and Adrian's probably gonna do a better job at this. In fact, let me just have Adrian describe
just
who
need a
Paul
picture.
Heyman is.
Paul Heyman he's done everything in wrestling. So like our journeys of being intern in the street team, he's done all that. He ran this thing
Oh,
called ECW.
that guy, the manager.
Yeah, he follows Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. He's
evil.
His history, and just because he's been in it in so many different dynamics.
He's a great storyteller too. I've seen some clips of him.
All right,
That's what I want.
Speaking of storytellers, can we get to John Cena?
Patience. We're working our way. We're working our way there.
This is the one subject I know about.
Paul Heyman also started ECW, didn't he? Or was
Yes.
he? Yeah.
Yes.
That was great. Let's talk about. You've talked about a lot of these viral clips. What's the first viral clip that you saw of yours that were like, whoa, this is pretty awesome? Because I see some of your stuff shared like on Reddit and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, and those Reddit people never put the YouTube link.
Those fuckers.
Assholes.
Come on, bro.
Come on, Redditors.
Send it somewhere.
Do
Please.
better. Do
Help me
better.
out. Again, independent creator
We're working
with
it.
a kid.
With a kid. He's got
In
a
this
kid.
economy,
Help him out.
don't be a dick.
Help him out.
I'm trying to
Why
think.
don't you go put your own links on there and hope they go viral?
Well, it doesn't matter though, because I could put a comment, but it's not going to be the original person that posted.
But why don't you be the original person that posted it?
It depends. Sometimes it depends with Reddit,
It can take a turn on you for the worse.
Oh.
People,
and and you could get like on Reddit. You get. I got banned for that actually because it's self promotion.
yeah.
Oh.
Even though it's technically, you can format it as news because that's what it would be, right? But then they still say no, it's self promotion. Anyway, the first viral clip though, I'd probably have to be with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. Oh, I love her.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley. I asked her. I was like, hey, you have been making people fold, as in like no one cannot smile at her because she's a beautiful woman. And I was like, yeah, but that shit ain't gonna
Google all
work with
these
me.
people.
So I said, hey, try to make me fold. She made me fold in 3 seconds. In 2.7 seconds.
Was it the accent or was it something else?
No, technically she cheated. I was like, no, I'm going to look at you. You're going to look at me. And we'll see if you make me fold. And she like licked her lips and did this. And I was like, okay, you're putting it on and you're my guest on the show. I don't want to be rude. So I smiled for her. That's the real behind the scenes. I've never said this. I wouldn't have smiled. Like if there was no cameras or anything. Yeah, right. I'm full of shit right now, Heather. I'm just being completely sarcastic.
Is it this girl?
Yes, Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
That went like 2 million because of what she did. That like 2 million on Instagram, and then people cropped out her to use it on Reels, so it was like a whole little subculture. So that's the first one that comes to mind.
Good for you.
Thank you.
That's a great moment.
Silly ass moment.
It really is, but it's those small things that make a huge difference and could continue on down the road. I'm thinking back of what got me back into wrestling, and what really did is the social media side of things and the streamers. There are so many streamers that will watch an episode, they'll show the episode, and then they'll also do their reactions to it as well. Who are some of the streamers that you follow? Or I'm sorry, are there streamers that you follow that you like work with or?
Yes, and that's kind of another thing that's made WWE so popular. In fact, I'll say it on here, like WWE has embraced the people that go on Twitch and watch it as it's going on. And then, of course, on social media, we'll post it with the actual video with the moment in real time. Like, they've embraced those people. They've used them in, like, montages afterwards to talk about how gigantic
this moment was.
And, like, it's so, again, you're bringing in people, you're making them feel a part, whereas AEW will copyright strike you.
Really?
And it's like, bro, you have
You're
to.
idiots.
It's not the smartest move. And then you can further that with Kai Cenat and I Show Speed and all these people that they've used, which has been like such a smart thing to do. When it comes to streamers, Wheezy is amazing. Mini Portable, this guy named Con Man. Like it's cool to see that side of like the wrestling online community and kind of see them get the shine, especially a lot of them, like these people have been doing this for years. They were doing it when wrestling wasn't that popular.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for 4 or 5 years and they're doing every show. Like if you notice, I only do interviews. Even my podcast is not really a podcast. I may sometimes speak for like 2 to 3 minutes and then go to the interview. My episodes are just the interviews in full. I don't do recaps every Monday. What do we think about this? Or here's the pay-per-view WrestleMania preview. I don't do any of that because there's so many people that do it. Like I was like, that's cool. I'm not trying to jump into this pool with 5,000 other sharks. So to see their grind kind of get appreciated and some of their opportunities and stuff, it's like really, really awesome. And just the communities that they've cultivated, because just like a lot of things online, the wrestling community can be like very toxic, but to see them have
Thriving.
like a community that's thriving and is like all filled with good people because they're good people has been really cool to see.
You know, that's interesting. It was Wheezy that actually got me. That's the one that I found and that got me hooked onto it. And it wasn't necessarily my interest in Cody Rhodes or whoever it was that was on the screen. It was it was her reaction to something that Cody Rhodes did that kind of got me intrigued. And then that kind of snowballed into I'm interested in seeing what's going on with WWE again. But that's good on WWE for utilizing those streamers and showcasing them in those montages and stuff like that. That's brilliant. I can't believe AEW is not utilizing that more.
AEW is stupid then for that.
Yeah, their social team, everyone's got things to improve, but that is like a small thing. Because, for instance, you did bring it up a little bit, but her Jon Moxley love just overtook the show.
It really did.
But last week, Jon Moxley wrestled, and he landed on a thumbtacks. No. Whoa. No, he landed on it was a baseball bat with a bed of nails on it, and he landed on it.
And it stuck into him.
And
I
then
think I saw this.
They tried to pull it out.
I think I
and
saw
the
this.
Skin, they weren't expecting that.
I saw this.
It was disgusting. I don't think it would have aired on TV because it's their weekly show that's on TBS and Max. I don't think if they had known that I think they just thought they'd be able to just pull it out, and they couldn't. In fact, behind the scenes, Jon Moxley told the one guy who was trying, he's like, no, go do the spot. I'll figure this out. It was a disturbing, crazy-ass thing to say, and not that many streamers talked about it online. And like it already went viral because what the fuck did
It was disgusting.
It's the most gruesome thing I've seen. I'm not the hardcore guy. I'm not against it, but like that's not my cup of tea. So to me, I was like, oh, and so that went viral, right? But if you have all these other people talking about it, just makes it infinitely more. But you can't because you want to copy strike it. It is what it is.
What's the most gruesome injury you've seen in wrestling?
That.
In person?
No, just in general. And I'll tell you mine. Mine was Sid Vicious jumping from the top rope and landing, and his leg just went whoop.
That would be. Yeah, it would have to be those moments of like
The leg breaks.
seeing the leg breaks or seeing the bones. There's been a couple. Last time AEW was here in Las Vegas for a pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, someone got lit on fire. Like legit with like a flamethrower.
I think I saw that. I was there.
And then
Was I there? I was there.
you might have been. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And
I was
then
there.
Seeing someone get hung off of like the side of the ring with a steel brace.
Okay.
Or no, steel whatever, like a noose. Basically get hung kind of low key. I was like, "Oh, this is nuts."
Why isn't the AEW versus WWE battle as entertaining or even as close as WCW versus WWE at the time?
Dude, I disagree with you. I understand your take because there was 2 to 3 years where WCW was there was a stretch where it was 100% more popular. I will say though that in about 3 weeks AEW will air longer. Like in 3 weeks they surpassed how long WCW was a company or aired on TBS and TNT. Yeah. I just think it's a how do I ask this question? Because I'm not the WCW full head.
Yeah.
I just think that I'm thankful that AEW exists where it's at. It is the second. It's a clear second, whereas before there were a couple times where it was neck and neck, and there was a lot of people enjoying AEW more. The best way I can put it is going back to Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is like a hit, like people who love hip hop. The rhyming is amazing, but he's also telling a story and he's talking about things of substance, right? That's what Kendrick Lamar stands for. And Drake is the pop star. You want to shake your head, the Taylor Swift, the Sabrina Carpenter of hip hop, right? That's what WWE is. WWE is Kendrick Lamar, or WWE is Drake.
Yep.
It's the pop star, the mega stuff. AEW, like if you love wrestling and you love the athleticism, they have the best wrestlers in the world. They're the Kendrick Lamar. And I'm so thankful that that's a thing and that wrestlers are getting paid and it's adding a whole different dynamic. The reason why I don't think it's been on a downturn, but they've kind of the past 6 months, they've finally gotten into gear. There was a drought. I just think there's a couple decisions that are like, whoa, what's going on? We need to make sure this works. Case in point, Cody Rhodes. Letting Cody Rhodes go to the WWE. Some of these things, I just think it was inevitable that some people just wanted to get back there because they know the stages that the WWE provides. But I will never, like, AEW is also the shit.
Yeah.
So, like, they can wrestle their ass off. So,
getting back to your podcast, and this is one of the last questions for your podcast. What is something, as you continue to get bigger and larger and you make a name for yourself, what's something that you find that's more difficult now that you are getting larger and more recognized with your brand, with your podcast? Do you find anything becoming more difficult now that you're getting larger compared to when you were just starting off? That was a little easier for you at the time?
The easy one is just making sure things come correct. But the reason why I don't want to say that is because I already hold myself to that. So it's not necessarily that the audience is becoming bigger, so I can't half-ass stuff. I will say this is the answer to your question. With wrestling becoming so damn popular, I know for a fact for WrestleMania this year here in Vegas, granted, Vegas is very accessible to the rest of the world, and it is a tourist city, and this is what we do. This is going to be the most credentialed WrestleMania ever. It's over 1,000 credentials have been put in.
Wow.
That's very close to what the Super Bowl is. And that's more than last year, which was a shit ton, and the year before, which was in LA, which is a shit ton. So there's so many people trying to get a piece of the pie that sometimes I am so thankful that week, I'm sleeping in my own bed, on my own pillow, not having to pay for a hotel. Even just look at the WrestleMania tickets. Look at the Hall of Fame tickets. All these different events that are WWE, like the shit is gone. It's so expensive.
It's crazy.
But even then, throughout this past year, going to events, you could just tell the increase of media coverage, which makes my job more difficult in the sense of now it's like Disney wait times when I'm waiting to talk to someone because there's 30, 40, 50 people in this line where before it was like 10 of us. So,
but I feel like with WWE and like with this, were you at Radio Row for Super Bowl?
Yes.
Okay, that I feel like there wasn't that many people there. I feel like the wrestlers are all gonna be there, from old to new to everyone. Don't you?
Again, it depends. You say that, but I think it's because Radio Row as a whole, because we're on the West Coast, from 4 a.m., because the morning shows on the East Coast that are doing their shows here, like it's a whole day thing. So it comes in spurts where you'll see a lot of guests in this downtime, then they'll bring more people in. It's not Radio Row. It's a different thing. And basically the best way I can put it is they'll bring in 8 wrestlers and you get in the line to talk to them. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, sometimes you got 2 hours, sometimes you got 4 hours, or even just trying to get a one-on-one interview separate of these junkets and things like that. Like it's just become a different animal, a different beast. The introduction of Netflix is automatically bringing in a whole bunch of people that typically are just like movies and TV, that entertainment side, are now coming in to do that. When you have the big names like Cena and The Rock involved, you're just bringing in a whole bunch of different elements that make it a more difficult thing. And because of pop culture, well, now Bleacher Report and Complex and ESPN's going to send out a whole bunch of people that you wouldn't think. So it's just made it a little bit more difficult, but that comes with the popularity, and I can complain, which I will, but I'm also very thankful because the eyeballs that I've had on my stuff. Make no mistake, if wrestling wasn't as cool as it is, there's no way I hit any of these numbers. I'm a reflection of that.
With everything you have going on, do you have a Brian as well helping you out, or is this all you, solely you?
Pretty much all me. I will say there's a couple, when I'm here in Vegas, there's a couple places that help me out when it comes to filming and hosting and having it, because I do have my cameras. I don't like... our station's all right. We got a nice little setup.
I'll say this. I'm working with Gina right now to make little like studios for us to use for interviews. Because I feel like, yeah, it sucks. Like when I had All American Rejects there, I hate the way that video looks. Yeah. It's me standing in the corner. I'd rather have just taken them into a room and have them like interview with me and it'd be nice like this.
Or have a couch.
Yeah.
Just some small things. So I try not to do when I'm in here in Vegas. I try not to do it as much in our studios. So having the help in certain places, I might need to get your guys' information. Maybe something.
I know, it's nice, right? You just put your poster up there.
Yeah, exactly. But outside of that, like when I'm going to these events and stuff like that, no, it's me, my tripod, my microphones, independent.
Good for you, man. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. That's incredible.
I want to, we're trying to get there so I can hire a little editor. If I hire an editor, oh my
it's
God.
Game over.
It'll be better than an orgasm. I'll be so happy. Like, thank goodness. Yes, please. I need 5 reels and edit that and go put it up on YouTube. I love you. Here's your money. But we're getting there. Baby steps. Bro.
I love that for you. Last question. What's your schedule like with WrestleMania?
This better not be the last fucking question.
Oh, you're John Cena.
We got shit to talk about before break. This is the last question.
Let's ask the question. What's your schedule like with WrestleMania coming up? What do you have going on with that?
Dude, I don't know yet.
They haven't approved, right?
I don't know yet. Yeah, things haven't been approved on WWE's end. I have to see what I'm doing with that before I go to everything. All I know is that it's filled. What's interesting about this year's WrestleMania is, for those that don't know, there are people who come to WrestleMania that go to nothing that the WWE is doing, no matter what city it is, because so many people are coming in to watch WrestleMania that every promotion in the world tries to do shows in the same city. Vegas is no exception. In fact, I need to look, but I think it's well over 100, but it might be the most shows ever done independently during a WrestleMania week ever. And because the venues are also trying to make some bank It's also been some of the more expensive places to book out.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking small little rooms to bigger places and venues from the Palms and stuff like that. So what it's forcing a lot of places to do, a lot of companies to do, they've had to like team up to be able to afford. And so it's creating these dynamics of like, oh, so because we're teaming up, we can put these different matchups. And going back to your question, yeah, there's going to be over 150 like wrestling shows. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. So I know it's just going to be packed.
Yep.
The only thing I know for certain is that Thursday I will be at WWE World with my son and letting my son meet Cody Rhodes.
That's awesome.
That's the only thing that's guaranteed and dope. And I'm looking forward to that more than like mainly everything.
I love that. All right, Heather, then let me ask Adrian this, but this is to satisfy Heather's desire to talk about John Cena's heel turn. Was John Cena's heel turn the greatest thing Triple H has done on the creative aspect of it? Or was CM Punk returning to WWE bigger?
CM Punk returning to WWE was something that people thought would never happen.
I never thought it happened.
From a business, from like an outside of the wrestling world thing. A lot, but the same thing can be said about Cena's heel turn. Yep. I need to get snobbish for a second. I thought that this is what was going to happen, only because for people that don't know, the WWE is now owned by TKO, who owns UFC. The reason why Vegas is the WrestleMania city was because UFC and WWE they're using this year. They kind of want to put their dick on the table to show how massive they are. So they told all the different cities that they told we were going to do WrestleMania, like, nope, we need to put it in Vegas. We are bringing out our most stars. We are making this the biggest deal ever. So when people were like theorizing about what's going to happen, I was like, the biggest thing in terms of like, not in a wrestling sense or for wrestling fans, I'm talking about clicks and being on all these different news outlets, is The Rock, the most famous actor in the world, and John Cena, fucking, I don't know, top 10, 20, one of the most, he's in every commercial if he's not the most famous actor. Right. He's fucking at McDonald's right now every time you order something smiling at you. I was like, yo, you make him a bad guy, which he's never done. Like, this is massive. That team up, that shit is crazy. So they have to do it.
Do you think he's going to win?
Oh, that's a good.
What do you think's best for storytelling?
I want Cody to win.
Really?
I want Cody to win. He's here for a lot of people were confused because this is John Cena's final year.
Right.
This is his final WrestleMania. It's not his final time wrestling. So I think at some point he is going to get it. I just don't think it's going to be at WrestleMania, just because they want that shot of him with the title at the end.
Was he 16-time world champ right now?
John Cena's 16, so his next one will be the record breaking, which kind of so this is
so then that's why I think he will be it.
This is the wrestling story, that this is John Cena's final WrestleMania. It's one of his final times to get that title. If he wins that title, he becomes the top. So who
will he beat out?
He sold his soul, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
He sold his soul to, like, this is his last chance and he's got to do it. This is like the simple.
So you think they don't give it to him?
Not at WrestleMania, no. I think they give it to Cody.
It's going to be good.
So will he ever get that 17 then? No.
I think so. That's
just later on.
That's a missed opportunity of like, yo, I mean, it's historic and he deserves it, right? Because this isn't real sports, right? But it does mean something.
What do you mean
to
this
a lot
is a
of
real
people.
sport?
Sports
You're right. What am I saying?
Sports entertainment.
Brian, leave that out, please.
We're going to censor that part.
I got canceled. Fuck.
You got canceled on the Hey BigHead Show.
No, but I think at some
I
point
take
it will
this video,
happen.
I put it on Reddit. Adrian's
right.
cancel. I take over his podcast and I win.
There you go.
I'm just kidding.
Adrian's right there with Peppa Pig getting canceled in one episode.
Wow. Peppa Pig and Adrian.
Jesus, this couch, man. No, but I do think he does it at a certain point. But I mean, and also the other thing is, like, WrestleMania is 2 nights. Cody versus Cena will be the last match on Sunday night.
Yep.
I just think that you got to send the fans happy.
Yeah.
Got to send the fans home happy. Although there is there's more theories about, well, so when The Rock, this is super nerdy. When The Rock randomly appeared and did the first throat slash, that people were like, what does this mean? He went like this. So he had 3.
3 fingers up.
When he did the slit to Cena, he had 2 fingers up. So now people are like, who's the third? Like, this is how crazy this Heather's face is like, what the fuck are you saying?
All right,
to me
Taylor
right now?
Swift.
So, like, there's a viral clip that I had. I asked Stone Cold about showing up at WrestleMania because he lives here. He lives outside of Reno. And people were like, well, what if Stone Cold comes back, which would be crazy, but then he becomes a bad guy, and all these certain there's so many different elements at play. So I do think like they could have Cena win, and it'll be fine. And he's still a megastar, and they'll still give you the highlights. I kind of want to see Cody win it because that's the final stamp of approval of
So
like
funny.
yeah.
It's those small details, and honestly, they're doing
Hey,
that.
Taylor Swift was wearing a snake necklace the other day, and everyone thinks Reputation's coming out this week. So I get it, dude. I get
So
it.
it's the same. See, this is
Same shit.
Same thing.
Same shit.
thing. Adrian, you're a fucking rock star. I'm so thankful
Thank
that you're
you.
here. So grateful that
thank
you're here.
you.
How can people find, for the few people that don't already know about you and your show, how can people find you?
On YouTube, youtube.com/Adrian CLE93. Until the guy who owns Unlikely sells it to me, you son of a bitch that hasn't used
son
the
of a
account in
bitch.
7 years.
Wait, he hasn't done anything with it in 7 years?
No, and the guy who
Fucking
owns
asshole.
Unlikely.com from 1996.
Jackass.
So that's the YouTube, youtube.com/Adrian CLE93, Instagram, TikTok @Heavyweight Radio, Facebook, which is crazy because people are like, Facebook is whack, which it is. But we're approaching 200,000 people liking the page, which is nuts.
That's
so just
crazy.
search Adrian Heavyweight Hernandez on there. Yeah.
Wait, do you want to hear a really good story about our radio station?
What?
RadioHeather.com. Guess who owns it?
Who?
Odyssey.
Her
But is
radio
it for
station.
you? No. It was some other Heather?
They bought it because maybe they want to name a station Heather, like Heather 105 or something. So they bought it, and I asked for it in my contract, and they told me no.
Those fuckers.
What was the reasoning?
They just said we might use it in the future.
'Cause that's crazy, because that's not for radio people.
My next
that's
contract.
not a normal thing.
My next contract, I'm going to say, I don't want to raise. I just want that website.
There's not like Alex 96.5, Andrew 1040
It's
AM.
RadioHeather.com.
I'm so thankful you gave me an AM station, though. Thank you for that.
I tried to be. Listen, they're trying to kill AM radio. I am a.
AM radio guy.
I was raised by AM radio sports talk. Rest in
yeah.
peace
Talk
to the
radio,
bet.
that's right.
Rest in peace to the bet Las Vegas. That was my station. But yeah, that's nuts. Sell Radio Heather. And unlikely.com. It looks literally unlikely.com looks like the first iterations of movie DVDs where there's only like 3 buttons to play. It would be like it would say play.
I hate that.
Chapters and then extras, which would just be like the trailer. And the dude won't see. He's probably passed away. How does that work? When someone
Andrew
passes
does
away?
websites, so he'll put an alert on himself.
We'll talk about this off
We'll
air.
talk about it.
You're like GoDaddy.com in real life.
Yeah. I was watching the Social Network, the movie Social Network, one night, and I got drunk, and that was like the beginning of my entrepreneur type mindset. So I was drunk at 2 a.m. and I was going to GoDaddy.com and typing up all these domains. Obviously, Facebook.com's taken. Obviously, ESPN.com's taken. But I typed in Netflix, and all of them were taken except for Netflix.tv. So I bought it for $12. I was like, fuck it, why not? The next morning I woke up. I kind of had a little bit of buyer's remorse because I started looking online about how people can get sued for owning these domains and holding them hostage.
Is that true?
Absolutely.
So the whole business tactic of like Blue Sky, okay, Nike, Blue Sky Nike account, Walmart Nike. You can't do that?
If you can trademark it and have it be your thing, then you can get in trouble for it. But something so specific as Netflix.tv, knowing that you're buying that strictly for the purpose of holding it hostage, I got scared. So I put it up for sale for like, I don't even remember, $100. Nobody took it because nobody was foolish enough to buy it. So anyways, it expired. Nobody bought it. And then I forgot all about it until like 7 months later, I get an email from a guy saying, hey, my client is interested in buying your domain. Do you want to sell it? And I was like, sure, I'll sell it for $1,200. And then I figured he'd come back for $500 and then we'd meet in the middle at $1,000. So I said $1,200, and he's like, sure, take it. And so I gave him the domain, he gave me the money, and then 6 months later, I get an email from a blogger who writes all about these domains, and he's like, hey, I just saw that you sold the domain Netflix.tv to Netflix. And he's like, can I write a story about it? And I'm like, sure. So he interviewed me, asked a bunch of questions. All I wanted to do was just get out of that sale without any trouble and make a little money off it. And so he wrote an article, and in the comments, people were blasting me, saying I was the bad guy. I'm the problem with America.
You're John Cena.
I'm John Cena right now because I'm doing things like to these poor companies. I'm
Oh,
like, give me a
boo,
fucking
Corporate
Netflix.
executives.
That was my heel turn. That was absolutely my heel turn, but that was my...
Dude, I'm so fascinated by that because I'm kind of like, yo, having a law about that is bullshit.
It's crazy.
Because isn't it essentially the same thing as buying a piece of land and waiting to sell it until it like becomes popular?
Listen, we'll talk to Elon. We'll see. We'll see
No,
what Elon can do.
I'm not, but I get your point.
Well, Adrian, again, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to see you at WrestleMania.
Thank
I want to
you.
see you. I want to see you stun Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
Wait, Cody's my guy, bro.
All right,
I'm with
fine,
it.
fine.
I'm not really messed with a lot of people. He's the only person in the world that I like that has a neck tattoo,
He does.
but that's my boy.
That's a bold move on his part, but good for him. It's working for him. Check out new episodes every Tuesday on heybighead.com. We'll see you then. Bye.
Okay.
Hey, big head.
Hey, big head. Where you going?
I have to go to puppy yoga.